Shall we knock? No. Let's surprise him.
You finally become the man I always wanted you to be.
He's a lot more than that, and now he's ready to take your place.
Perhaps the time has come for someone else to lead Albion.
You were never a leader, just another tyrant.
Did it ever occur to you that I may have had good reason to be?
We're not interested in your reasons.
Cower behind ignorance if you will, but my brother deserves to know the truth.
Save it for the trial, Logan. You can beg for your life then. There he is, the King of Albion. You've made it, just like I always knew you would. It doesn't get any easier, though. You have a country to run now. And with Jasper busy in the sanctuary, you'll need a new personal aide. Someone who can keep you organized. Let me introduce you to...
Hobson. Hobson's the name, Your Majesty. May I say what an extraordinary honor it is to serve you. I have a vast wealth of experience, I assure you, though I have yet to experience vast wealth. That, Your Majesty, is an example of the sense of humor which will no doubt make our time together such a delight.
No doubt. Well, I'll leave you two to get better acquainted. I should begin preparations for the trial.
The trial, of course. The very first item on today's agenda. Among my other qualities, I am well versed in toadying, public relations, and time management. And I heartily believe the key to being a successful king is following a well-scheduled royal agenda. If you will permit me, here are today's appointments. I'm sure you will do a marvelous job presiding over your brother's trial, which, as I said, will be your very first royal duty. Your subjects await in the throne room for what is sure to be an historic occasion, Your Majesty.
All stand to attention for the King of Albion. Logan, former King of Albion, you stand accused today of crimes against the kingdom and its people. Those who brought you to justice will now speak.
There's not a soul alive in the kingdom who hasn't suffered for his glory, and plenty who've died for it. I says, let him have some death of his own.
Look, I'm not one for lopping people's heads off, but we saw Major Swift executed like it was a bloody circus act. He deserves nothing less as far as I'm concerned.
But aren't we better than that? Isn't that why we fought to be here now? I've seen what Logan has done to this city. People starving to death, children forced to work. But killing him now won't solve anything.
It is not my place to decide his fate, but his betrayal condemned many of my people to death. He promised us salvation, and then left us to face the darkness alone.
I had good reason to break that promise, and I had good reason for the crimes you claim I committed. The day I returned to Albion, I received a visit from a blind seer, Teresa, our father's guide. She showed me the future of this kingdom. The darkness in Aurora is coming here, bringing death, destruction, the end of our way of life. The sacrifices I had to make, I did them to protect Albion. If a few had to suffer, it was to build an army. If a few had to die, it was to save a country. I have spent years preparing for this attack. Let me stand by your side now, and all my soldiers will be yours to command. Let us face the coming darkness, together.
This is true. If it's really coming here, we are all in grave danger.
You have the power over life and death, brother. Now choose.
This is not the time for revenge. We need your help, Logan.
The king has made his decision. Logan's life will be spared.
I know you will never forgive me for the things I've done. You told me so once, remember?
Of course I do.
But what matters now is that we defend our land. The castle is yours, and so is the throne. I'm glad to be rid of them.
But your journey is not yet done. Now you are king, you can know the truth. Albion will soon be attacked, and the threat could not be greater. Darkness is coming to our land. It cannot be reasoned with, it cannot be halted. The ruler of Albion is all that stands between the world we inhabit and that darkness. That is why you had to take your brother's place. The course of history demands it. If you do not succeed, everything we know will come to an end.
Why didn't you tell me all this at the start? It was never about Logan, was it?
I told you what you needed to know, and I never spoke anything but the truth.
And how do I stop it?
You won't. Its arrival is inevitable. 1 year from now, the darkness will fall upon Albion. All you can do is prepare, and hope to save as many of your people as you can. How you do so is up to you. 2 paths lie ahead. You may keep the promises you have made and be known as a benevolent ruler. But understand that doing so will leave little to spend on the kingdom's protection and may lead you to disaster. It is not easy to be popular and keep the treasury full, unless you are willing to sacrifice your personal wealth. You will not lack the means to build the army you need, but you will be hated. This path will cast you in the role of a tyrant, as it did your brother.
Your Majesty, I'm not sure what to say after receiving such news. The darkness that is coming. People won't understand what it means. Nobody could, without living through it first. We need to prepare. If we can't stop the attack from happening, we have to be ready when it comes. Having Logan's troops on our side is a good start. But you will need to raise a fortune to pay for the army we'll need. Hobson will show you the treasury, and I'm sure he can explain just how to fill it.
Indeed I can.
Then I will leave you to it. Ben and I will begin recruiting and training soldiers at once.
If you will follow me, Your Majesty. Oh, how I have looked forward to this moment. This is it, Albion's royal treasury, the store of the kingdom's total wealth. It's, well, not as replete as one would like, but just imagine this room shimmering with hills, valleys, and plateaus of gold, a topography of riches going all the way up to the ceiling. It will require nothing less to build this army everyone is talking about. Which brings us to the second item on today's agenda, and one I'm personally very excited about. Setting the tax rate for the coming year. As you probably know, your brother was taxing the people rather heavily, and some say that this has led to poverty, starvation, and other societal ills. You have three clear choices, Your Majesty. 1, lower the tax rate, which one could argue would help the poor and the hungry, but would also leave the treasury in a miserable state. 2, maintain Logan's policies. Not a popular move with the people. Very well, Your Majesty. Well, how very noble. Yes, I suppose noble is the word. How very noble of you. The people are no doubt dancing in the streets. And we are bankrupt. You will need to be more ruthless if you wish to save the kingdom, Your Majesty. There are other, less salubrious means of filling the treasury, of course. You may donate your own gold, should you have enough. Though I must say, such charity is unheard of. However you decide to proceed, you should acquaint yourself with the Royal Ledger. It is a logbook that allows the reigning monarch to make deposits and withdrawals from the treasury. A most useful financial tool. But my, look at the time! You really ought to attend to the next item on today's agenda. Reva has a most intriguing proposal for you in Bowerstone Industrial. Now, I know you have had your differences, but it is time to put those behind you and work together. Nobody can raise money like Reva can, I assure you. I have seen to it that your appearance among the populace is well publicized, so expect a crowd.
Don't tempt...
Oh, happy day! His Majesty, the King of Albion, graces us with his radiant presence. What better way to begin your reign than by reinstating one of my most successful policies? There is no greater waste than the idleness of our city's youth, but my employment scheme guarantees children of all ages will have something to occupy them, whilst ensuring our factories are properly manned.
It's just monstrous. Don't listen to him. You promised you would end child labor. Remember that promise now.
And what would you have us do with the snotty little indigents?
The only way Bowerstone is going to climb out of the gutter is through education. Nothing is more important to our future than that. Turn this factory into a school. Give the children of this city the chance they never had.
The factory will become a school.
Thank you. We can really start changing people's lives now. This will be an Albion worth fighting for.
I shall begin the necessary modifications at once. Welcome to Reaver Industries Learning Center, Bowerstone Industrial's first ever school. You can now feel secure in the knowledge that your children can become the well-educated automatons you always wanted them to be.
Everything you could possibly need and much more. Right here. Nice to see you.
Nothing to report, Your Majesty.
Gorge yourself on my wonderful food.
Hello, Your Majesty.
Hey there, Your Majesty.
Hello.
Your Majesty.
Sell me your unwanted items.
Sir.
I want to buy them.
It's our mighty king. Hello, my lord.
Your Majesty. My lord, at your service, my king.
My lord, it's our
My
mighty king.
Long live the king.
Hello.
His Majesty, the King of Albion. Today, you will decide what is to be done with the Bowerstone Old Quarter, site of the battle for Albion. Paige will offer her proposal. Reaver shall stand against her.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, our victory came at a great cost to the city. You vowed to fight poverty, but our actions have made the problem worse. You must act now. I ask that the old quarter be rebuilt, and its former residents rehomed. You wouldn't just be helping those in great need. You'd be sending a message to your people. They're scared, Your Majesty.
Now is not the time to build houses. We have other priorities. The request is denied.
The king has reached his decision. The old quarter shall become a monument to our victory, and is to be left untouched.
Sanity prevails. And do not fret. I shall make sure there is no negative publicity attached to your decision.
You have turned your back on those who need you the most. I wonder if anything has really changed since we overthrew your brother.
Despite the heartless demands of the greedy few, we are proud to announce that the historic site of Bowerstone Old Quarter will forever be preserved as a monument to this city's greatest triumph. Join me, Reva, in saluting our proud heritage.
It breaks one's heart to see the treasury so empty. If we don't do something about it, we will all die. And I have some very definitive retirement plans. As a matter of fact, our very first order of business might have a bearing on our financial situation. The time has come to decide the annual town guard budget. As you can imagine, the people like to complain about crime and the lack of safety on our streets, and are calling for more guards than your brother was ever willing to pay for. You have 3... Very wise, Your Majesty. Better to have a city full of criminals than a city full of very dead people. Let us now turn our attention to the rest of today's business. Here is the royal schedule I have prepared. As you can see, you have a busy day in the court, but a tremendously enjoyable one. Decoration is a passion of mine, and I simply cannot wait to see your choice. The interior designers await you in the throne room.
Majesty?
At your orders, sir.
Ah, my lord.
Greetings, sir.
All stand for the king. Today you decide on the decor of the castle. Two of Albion's greatest interior designers have come to present their suggestions.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, I am Herman Worthy, and I have a design in mind that will blow your little royal socks off. Imagine a celestial scheme capable of lifting the shadows that haunt these halls.
I wish this to be a fortress of dread.
The readers of Castle Design Weekly will be delighted with your intelligent choice.
Well, I, for one, am seriously considering cancelling my subscription. You're all witches!
Greetings, Your Majesty.
Today you decide on the future of Aurora, Your Majesty. Kaelin will speak for her people. Reva will dispute her cause.
You may speak.
I am here to seek the protection you promised. It is too long since my people felt safe, or knew of life without suffering.
Aurora will become part of Albion, but they must work for this privilege.
The king has spoken. Aurora shall be mined for resources. Its people shall receive the protection of the throne in exchange for their labor.
You are no better than your brother. He may have left us to die, but you wish only to exploit us.
Welcome to the new and improved Aurora, an oasis of friendship, camaraderie, and valuable resources. Visit the city that Reva Industries rebuilt from sand and tour the local mines, where you can witness the Aurorans' refreshingly vigorous work ethic. Aurora, a gem glowing in the darkness.
A wise decision in court today, Your Majesty. While it is true that your popularity in Aurora has suffered, the people closer to home are not too concerned. This could prove to be a very profitable arrangement. And speaking of Aurora and prophets, we may have stumbled upon some very exciting news in that area. It seems that a group of Albion explorers visiting Aurora have discovered a rare diamond in the desert. They heard the legend of this extraordinary gem from the locals, and understandably set out to find it, without a moment's regard for their own lives. Which may go some way to explaining why only one of the explorers returned in one piece. He came back empty-handed, speaking of the hideous desert beings protecting the treasure. Think of the glory, Your Majesty, the adventure, the romance, the large sums of money we stand to make. The diamond is located in one of the caves beneath the Auroran wasteland, reportedly the site of an ancient, abandoned temple. You need only to take it.
Majesty. Long live the king! At your command.
Sir? Ah, it's our
How are you today, sir?
Gosh, I don't know what to say.
Yes, sir.
Service,
my lord.
Salutations,
Majesty.
Oh my! Greetings, my lord.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Is all well, my lord? How good to see you, sir.
Your Majesty, so good to see you.
Good to see you, Your Majesty.
I can't believe this! I just can't believe it! Brilliant! I'm saved! Now, in the interest of full disclosure, the sewers are said to be quite dangerous. Which is why I'm not down there myself.
Never killed a king before. Looking forward to it. cotton ball! Oi! Stop hitting us, you vicious sod! Blocked with pennies! Use it now! Trouble killing an ant with that weapon, let alone a bastard yes. Don't let that That was some kind of fire spell. I'm too good for you. That was too easy.
You know what you need? Really close. Oi! You keep shooting that room, someone's gonna get killed. Don't just stand there and get it, you fool. Too bad for you, I'm wearing my favourite target upper pants. Come on, cheat, yeah, make that quick toss-up leg. Did you just... What the hell are we up against? Leave on!
got it! I never thought in a million years you'd find it! That was truly divine intervention. It really was. Although, that would mean that my dropping it in the first place was divine intervention too, right? I can't credit only the good stuff. And that would mean it was divine intervention that gave me an ulcer, and almost cost me the woman I love, and kept me from getting any sleep this week! In a universe that's at best apathetic and at worst actively sadistic, what possible point can there be in getting married? I hope I kept the receipt for this. Sir?
Hello there, Your Majesty.
You won't find tastier food anywhere else.
Sir, at your orders.
You look rather fantastic on...
Greetings, Your Majesty. Your Majesty?
Boo! I hope things are good with you.
Right bad things. They are horrible.
Terrible. Aurorans, throw off the chains of...
While we're still young.
Sail the ocean. There's no better way to travel.
Hello, great. Hello, Your Royal Majesty. Ready to serve, Your Majesty.
Greetings, my lord. What's going on? Bowerstone's best.
Can I be of service, my lord?
My lord.
Hello, Your Majesty.
Well met,
How are you,
Sir.
sir?
My king.
Attention.
At your orders, sir.
At your orders, sir.
It's more beautiful than I dared to imagine. And heavy, too. Our experts estimate it's worth a small fortune. Of course, now the question becomes, what do you wish to do with this fine stone? Shall I deposit the money from the sale into the treasury? Or perhaps you would prefer the funds were channeled into, let us say, a more personal account? A truly selfless act. I am constantly in awe of your generous and noble spirit. Putting the safety of your people before your own reward. Bravo, Your Majesty. Bravo. The Treasury's health is robust, but we must always be wary of unnecessary expenditures and watch out for possible avenues of profit. With that in mind, I would like to discuss the thorny issue of child benefits, which were abolished under your brother's rule. There are vocal elements within the community who are clamoring for us to bring it back. In the interests of the Treasury, and of the long-term welfare of the people, I have... Very well, Your Majesty. The breeders amongst the rabble will be ecstatic, I'm sure. Perhaps you are considering making a personal donation to the Treasury to make up for the shortfall. It is entirely your decision, as always. Shall we proceed with the rest of your appointments? Here is the royal agenda for the day. As you can see, you have 2 audiences in the throne room to begin. I've heard rumors that Riva's latest proposals are both scandalous and delicious. It should be most entertaining.
Majesty.
Hello, your lordship.
All stand for the king.
Beloved Majesty.
This hearing concerns the future of the Bowerstone Shelter and Orphanage. Paige will speak for the disenfranchised people of the city. Riva will dispute her cause.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, the shelter has long been the only refuge for the homeless, the poor, and the orphaned. And until we can change the whole world for the better...
It is time Bowerstone had its first whorehouse.
The shelter shall become a brothel.
Excellent, Your Majesty. I will see to it immediately. And I mean immediately.
This is exploitation, Your Majesty. Your people won't be pleased.
Does your heart have a sizable hole that can be filled only with love? Do your pockets jingle with leftover gold? Then Riva Industries is pleased to present the House of Requited Affection, where money really does guarantee happiness.
Today, you will deal with a pressing environmental issue. The disposal of the city's waste. Riva will offer his proposal. A member of the Morningwood community will stand against him.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, I'm sure you will have noticed a certain aroma permeating the city of late, even more nauseating than usual. I think
Morningwood will be granted the honor of receiving the city's sewage.
The king has spoken. The waste from the city of Bowerstone shall be channeled into Morningwood.
I shall begin the flushing immediately, Your Majesty.
Oh, this is heavy. This is totally heavy. You've turned Granny Nature into your toilet bowl. But she'll fight back. You'll see. One day, in like 1,000 years, she'll fight right back, man.
There is nothing as important as the health and hygiene of our citizens. As such, Riva Industries is delighted to announce the opening of the Morningwood Sewer Reservoir, eliminating Bowerstone's most pungent pollution. Emptying one's bowels has never been safer, or such a pleasure.
The day is almost over, Your Majesty. Only one more appointment left. Paige has requested a meeting in the old rebel headquarters. How very cloak and dagger. I wonder what she wants.
Nothing to report, Your Majesty.
My lord.
Ah, Your Majesty.
I'm at your command. For king and country. Greetings, Your Majesty.
Sir?
Everything all right, Your Majesty?
You're doing good work, Your Majesty.
Hello. Greetings, sir.
At your orders.
Hello, sir.
Gosh. Hello, great lord.
Sir.
Sir?
It's not every day a king walks into the rebel headquarters. Good. Kid went undercover with a gang of robbers and found out their plans. They're going to strike the tavern in Bowerstone Market. If you get there in time, you can stop the raid. And at least one of those thugs must know where Ferret is holed up.
Hi, big shot.
If you cooperate, you won't get hurt. But if you give us any trouble, we'll kill you. Now, just so you know we mean business, I'd like one of you to give us trouble, so we can kill him as an example to the rest. Who's it gonna be then? The king, no less. Have at him, fellas.
We've never lost a fight. Did you know that?
Show your blood where that came from, son. Keep going.
Can't get me. Smell of wind. Oi! Leave him alone. He's a friend of mine. Great block.
Smells better in than me.
Things are all right.
It is no longer advantageous for any of us to frequent the hideout in Industrial. Presently, I shall inaugurate a new centre of operations in Bowerstone Market. You've been provided with a key which will permit access. Please endeavour to prevent its transference to an unauthorised individual.
Yes, sir. Majesty.
Oh, wow.
At your service, my king. My lord. At
Yeah.
your orders.
You again. It does tend to obviate the entire objective of maintaining a secret hideout, if your enemies can simply infiltrate whenever they've the inclination. Lads, perform the specific services for which I employ you. Expeditiously.
Huh?
Kill him! Fast!
We're gonna kill you anyway, so why not do the decent thing and just give up? Beating up on my friends, eh? Kill the damn dog! How can one guy beat too good. Oh, the go on, get him back!
Hey, you bastard! Leave my maiden lord! Holy arse meat! This guy's dishing out instant death!
I can't live one more day in this cell.
I told you to keep the noise down. I told you to keep the noise down.
Hey! What you want done with your body after you're dead?
Leave off! He's a man alive! You can't get me! Ha! Cop for that, you filth!
Oi! Stop hitting us, you vicious son!
Filthy mouth! Go on! Cop for that, arseface! Call that an attack? My hamster could have blocked that! Ugh! I believe I can state with relative confidence that your efforts are in vain. Even should it transpire that you vanquish my associates, this door is completely impenetrable. In addition to which, this cell contains a secret egress through which I may abscond whenever I desire. Meanwhile, my compatriots shall brutalize your person.
If you want him.
You haven't lost your touch. I'm surprised his men were foolish enough to fight you.
Now, truth be told, my superlative intellect notwithstanding, it would appear this is not, in fact, the specific cell I so confidently referenced earlier. The one with the secret exit has 2 beds. All right, you have prevailed, Your Majesty. I concede. However, I entreat you to entertain a certain proposal.
You have nothing to offer, Ferret. It's over.
That pronouncement is objectively devoid of merit. I happen to have on my person a substantial quantity of currency. Let me go free, and the money is yours.
As far as...
Good of you to demonstrate such compassion. I shan't be so ill-mannered as to outstay my welcome. Farewell!
You have made great strides, Your Majesty. Witness the glory of your treasury. Don't you just want to go swimming in all that gold? But the kingdom demands your attention once more. The time has come to make a decision on Albion's drinking laws. Under Logan's rule, our citizens are restricted in the amount of alcohol they can purchase per day. As you can imagine, this has proved a rather unpopular measure. And yet many respected members of the community think the law does not go far enough. They would like alcohol consumption. The residents of Millfields will be most pleased. They will find it money well spent, and I find it money well received. Let us move on to other matters, Your Majesty. You have a busy day in the throne room ahead. Samuel, the head of the Brightwall Academy, is ready to plead his case. I sincerely hope he isn't after a handout, though I'm sure Master Reaver will be the voice of reason, as always.